ideas to the scientists then that the use of the technology, space technology for natural resources management. The another program is SITE, which I'll be talking later during 75-76. That is, these two are the major factors for India to go for exclusive its own infrastructure in space. So, which was the beginning was launching of Aryabhatta in 1975, then Bhaskara in 1979. That is, those two are satellites launched by other launch vehicles, launch vehicle from other country. Then ISRO started its own launch vehicle program, where the first success was on August 10th, 1979, with successful launch of SLV-3. Then subsequently, many satellites were built. I would like to highlight only few of them. The another major milestone in ISRO space program is the Indo-Soviet manned space mission. Most of you are aware, Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma. He was the first Indian to visit the space. That was on April 2nd, 1984. And as the year progressed, the launch vehicle technology, its capacity improved, and the type of satellites that India built, that also improved. To begin with, the IRS one is a major milestone in remote sensing satellite. That was on March 17, 1988. Subsequently, PSLV, that is Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, that is the workhorse of Indian space program. The first successful development flight was on October 15, 1994. Then it was having a lot of commercial flights till date. You might have heard, whenever most of the launches that happened from ISRO spaceport is through PSLV. Then as the demand grew and the applications enlarged, ISRO started building satellites for theme specific. Like we see in this slide, we have ResourceSat or Cartosat, or the previous slide we had OceanSat. That means satellite specific meant for certain applications. Earlier, one satellite was doing all the purposes. Then due to increase in demand, we started having exclusive satellites. And during this period, as you are aware, after millennium, one of the major experiment is space recovery experiment. That is the first stepping stone for human space flight. Okay. Then, as all of you are aware, Chandrayaan-1 was the first mission for interplanetary mission from ISRO, which successfully launched the Indian flag on moon soil. Then subsequently, we also had recent flight Chandrayaan-2. Before that, yes, first attempt success of Mars orbiter mission was also done by ISRO. And another landmark event is PSLV launching more than 100 satellites at one stretch with single launch. So these are some of the landmark that has happened during the journey of ISRO. Okay, and 2020 saw very few launches due to COVID pandemic, and we started 2021 with the first commercial launch of new National Space Agency, which is a commercial arm of ISRO, NSIL. Okay, and the journey of ISRO will go forever, where people like you are expected to join in near future. Okay. So ISRO's Indian space program had the vision to harness space technology for national development. So if you recall the quote of Vikram Sarabhai, that's what he meant. And based on that only, the vision of ISRO is, but parallelly, as he said, we should be second to none. So we also spend a lot of effort in space science research and planetary exploration. One side you take care of national development, and the other side we take care of the advanced research, so that we are on par with other countries in this area. Okay. So with this vision, the ISRO's space program is divided into three major areas. One is INSAT or GSAT program. Second one is IRS, that is Indian Remote Sensing Program. Third is Space Sciences. To manage all these three programs, there are some coordination committees. And in order to achieve the objectives of these programs, ISRO builds launch vehicles as well as satellites. Okay, and the central piece of these programs are towards societal and development applications. And when you say societal and development applications, most of them are addressing the natural resources, providing support during disaster, different phases of disaster, and infrastructure development. Infrastructure varies from space infrastructure to earth-based infrastructure. I'll be giving you some examples in subsequent slides on all these things. So based on that, ISRO's program mainly concentrating on first about launch vehicle program, where the kind of satellite that we build should be launched to the desired orbit. And similarly for communication and weather broadcasting, we have INSAT program. Then for understanding the natural resources and provide developmental applications, we have remote sensing program. The last one is R&D in the field of space sciences and interplanetary missions. Towards this, ISRO provides the following services, like providing communication transponders for both government and strategic purpose as well as commercial purpose. Then ISRO provide satellite services for weather forecasting. The major user is Indian Meteorological Department, and ISRO also provides satellite imagery for all the customers in India and across the world. And ISRO also promotes research and development in space sciences. So till date, as on 6th April, ISRO has launched 111 spacecraft missions, out of which 80 launch missions, 342 foreign satellites, 12 student satellites, 2 re-entry missions, and the foreign satellites we have launched for around 34 countries. This information is available from ISRO website, so you can visit the URL. And for the information of the participants here, I will be sharing this presentation with you all through Mr. Pujit. So you can always go through, and I have put some references in some of the slides. You can access them and get more information beyond this session. This slide shows the set of launch vehicles that ISRO has developed so far, beginning with SLV-3, that is small launch vehicle, which is having capability of launching 17 ton of satellite classes, and it has grown to GSLV Mark III, which has the capability to lift off with a mass of 640 tons. See where 17 tons is, where 640 tons is. And another information that you need to concentrate about the launch vehicle is the SLV can go only up to low Earth orbit, whereas GSLV class of satellites can go to geosynchronous transfer orbit. Geosynchronous transfer orbit means the low Earth will be 400 kilometers, geosynchronous transfer orbit will be somewhere in up to 36,000 kilometers away from Earth. And we have different set of satellites, as I was telling earlier: communication satellites, Earth observation satellites, scientific spacecrafts, navigation satellites. That is one of the new area that ISRO is into. Then we have experimental satellites, small satellites, and student satellites. So I'll be showing the list of communication satellites now. Currently, around more than 10 communication satellites are there. Most of them are providing transponders meant for communication. Around 200 transponders are there at different bands. And some of the satellites which has the imaging sensors on board, they are also used for weather forecasting and disaster warning. And the difference between the communication satellite and other satellites are these communication satellites are placed in geosynchronous orbit. That means at the altitude of 36,000 kilometers. The speed with which it goes around the Earth is similar to the speed of rotation of Earth, so that it sees the same portion of Earth always. Okay, that is the reason these satellites are launched at that altitude. The other set of satellites is Earth observation satellites. 13 Earth observation satellites are there. India is one of the countries which has so many operational satellites as on today, with the diverse specifications. Okay, and most of them are used for natural resource monitoring, disaster management, and infrastructure applications. And these satellites have different spatial, spectral, and temporal resolution. When I say spatial resolution, you might have seen, most of you might have seen the Google images. And ISRO satellites have the sensors having a resolution of 25 centimeter to 56 meter and beyond. Even 4 kilometers sensors are there on board geostation satellites like INSAT 3D and Kalpana. Most of them are used for weather purposes. And all these remote sensing satellites are used to understand the resources like agriculture, water, for urban planning, rural development, mineral prospecting. I'll be giving some examples for each one of them so that you get some idea. I cannot tell entire ISRO's history, which is beyond 50 years in 1 hour. So I'll be giving some glimpses. So I encourage you people to go through for the ISRO website and other resources for more details. Okay. So having told about ISRO's space program, to implement such a massive program, it is not possible with 1 or 2 centers. ISRO has more than 10 centers. This is the organization of ISRO. It is under Department of Space. Department of Space is directly under Prime Minister, and Prime Minister is assisted by a Space Commission. Under Department of Space, we have ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, and also some autonomous institutions like PRL, NARL, NESAC, SCL, and IAST. Most of the centers which are responsible for building satellites, building launch vehicles, launching satellites, they are all under ISRO's domain. And these institutes listed here are VSSC, LPSC, SDC, SHAR, URSC, SAC, NRSC, HSFC. These are all major centers where their contribution is huge. And we also have other centers, small centers, but they are very critical in providing supports to this Indian space program. Okay, this information is all been in ISRO site, you can go through. And just for the information that ISRO is not located in one place in the country, it is spread across entire country. Just see this map left side. We are omnipresent, present everywhere in the country. It is not only ISRO centers, we have partners in private and academia. They are also spread across the country. And most of us are not aware that the kind of work ISRO does cannot be possible without the support of private industries and academia, because the number of launches that happens every year, especially last 1 decade, it is not feasible with the resources available at ISRO. So we depend on a lot with private industries as well as academia. The major center under ISRO is Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. This is located in Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala. They are pioneers in rocket research and launch vehicle. They build the total rocket system, and the allied industries, allied engineering and science related to rocket research is taken care by Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. You can I have left your website address of this organization. You can go through more details. The second major center under ISRO is Professor U.R. Rao Satellite Center. This satellite center was earlier named as Indian Satellite Center. So it was renamed just to commemorate Professor U.R. Rao, who was one of the former chairman of ISRO. This center is responsible for design and development, assembly and integration of all the type of satellites, either communication, navigation, remote sensing, scientific and small satellites. This is one center which takes care of building up all the satellites. Okay. The third one is Satish Dhawan Space Center, which is Spaceport of India. Most of you must be aware. This is the place from where all the launches of ISRO happens, except the sounding rockets that happens from VSSC in Trivandrum. SDC SHAR is located in Andhra Pradesh in Sriharikota. And this is a very big, one of the biggest campus in ISRO. We have 3 launch pads which caters to the needs of launching any class of launch vehicle, either PSLV or GSLV, Mark 1, Mark 3. And also it has facilities for launching research oriented launches like re-entry vehicles and other things. The next major center is Liquid Propulsion System Center. As you are all aware, the fuel is main important thing for rockets, launching rockets. So this center takes care of research and development in propulsion related things, including the engine required for that, the fuel required for that, the kind of fuel that will reduce the weight of overall lift-off weight of the rocket, because so that the the satellites that can be flown on board this launch vehicle can be more. The weight of the satellite can be more. So they do a lot of research in this field. Again, a lot of engineering and science related fields are there in this center. The next major center is Space Applications Center, who are responsible for development of spaceborne and airborne instruments and payloads. Like whatever the cameras, sensors, the transponders that is flown on board the satellites are designed and developed from this center. And they also have a set of departments which takes care of technology development for national development and societal benefits. One of the latest center to be formed under ISRO is Human Space Flight Center, which you may be aware it was launched, inaugurated 2 years back, with the idea of sending two Indians for space and safely returning back them. And they are responsible for developing the total systems required for human space flight, that is named as Gaganyaan project. And they are also collaborating with various other government centers, government departments, and private and academia in achieving this goal. One of the important and the significant center under ISRO is National Remote Sensing Center, from where I am representing, and we are responsible for reception of data from Indian remote sensing satellites as well as some of the foreign satellites. We receive the satellite data, process the data, disseminate to the users. We are the only organization in the country currently given the responsibility for data dissemination. We also develop a lot of applications on using this remote sensing satellite data for natural resources management, disaster management support, and we also provide a lot of geospatial services. And we also have a wing for providing capacity building for professionals, working professionals, faculty, and students at NRRC. Another important center under ISRO is ISRO Propulsion Complex. It was carved out of Liquid Propulsion System Center. The main objective of this center is to carry out research and development in liquid propulsion systems, especially liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen fuel for launch vehicles, the engine, corresponding engine. They also work on cryogenic technology. And they have test facilities to test all the engines and qualify them for the launch, before launch. Before launch, each and every systems are tested. That's how most of the launches are error-free. Each and every component and the systems, then when I say engine, everything in the engine is tested. And if you have opportunity, you should visit. This is one of the center worth visiting under ISRO, where you have a huge facilities located in a hilly terrain, and they handle very highly hazardous fuels. Okay, so that is the beauty of this, and it is most of the time it is not having any accidents. The next important center is called ISTRAC, that is ISRO Telemetry Tracking and Command Network. Their job is to control all the satellites and provide the tracking support during launch vehicle missions, for sending the commands to the satellite or launch vehicle, receiving and controlling entire network. And ISTRAC has got network ground stations at different locations in the country as well as outside the country, so that the satellites and launch vehicles can be monitored and provided with the command for subsequent actions from anywhere in the world. And they have deep space network, which is used for sending commands to interplanetary missions, where each command takes few minutes to go reach the spacecraft, and then the return takes few minutes. The kind of data compression, communication is really a wonderful job that one can cherish working in the center. And we have one exclusive center for controlling all geostationary, geosynchronous satellites, that is communication satellites. That's called the Master Control Facility, located in Hassan in Karnataka. They are responsible for orbit tracing of satellites. So generally, the launch vehicles launch such kind of satellites in a geotransfer orbit with different perigee and apogee. And this center takes care after the launch and does a lot of orbital maneuver to see that the satellite reaches its intended orbit in geostationary orbit, that is around 36,000 kilometers, a circular orbit. Okay. So this is the major work of this center. And apart from these major centers, we have a lot of important centers which does significant research and development works. One such is Physical Research Laboratory, where the research happens in most of the sciences, including astronomy, astrophysics, geosciences, solar physics, in planetary sciences, space and atmospheric sciences. They collect data from ISRO's missions and foreign missions. They have collaborative work with international academia and research organizations. And Physical Research Laboratory also has two observatories. One is at Mount Abu, which has an optical infrared observatory where they study the stars in the sky. And another observatory is Solar Observatory at Udaipur in Rajasthan. These two are under the control of Physical Research Laboratory. For development of Northeast Space Application Center, ISRO has an exclusive autonomous center in Northeastern region in Shillong that caters to the needs of the 8 states of Northeastern region in India for all kind of space technology applications exclusively for this region. One of the centers that was added to ISRO later from some other department is Semiconductor Laboratory. It is responsible for carrying out research and development in the area of microelectronics to meet the strategic needs. And they are responsible for developing CMOS and MEMS devices. And most of these instruments are used for strategic applications, not for societal or natural resource management. The one more important institute under ISRO is Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, which is responsible for providing capacity building and training for the manpower in India. They have a lot of diploma, PG diploma courses, and they also offer one MTech course in collaboration with Andhra University. And there are some programs that has the understanding with ITs in Netherlands. So some students who joined the course at IARS, Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, will be doing a part of their coursework in ITs in Netherlands. So there are some options available. And IARS also does a live and interactive distance learning program. Their calendar is almost busy throughout the year. We have very good hostel facilities in the campus for both the national students and international students. And this campus, I forgot to add here, it has one United Nations Center for Space Science and Application Education in Asia Pacific region, where the postgraduate program is offered, and students from Asian Pacific region countries come and have the education in this center. Another institute which was created under ISRO is Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, which provides high quality education at undergraduate, graduate, and PhD level, postdoc, PDF levels also, with research specification specific to space sciences, space technology, space application. And I hope most of you are aware of this center. The students get admitted to this center through JEE marks. Initially years, all the students were observed in ISRO at different centers depending on the performance in academic. But recent years, they have put a cutoff. Those students who has more than the cutoff CGPA only are given admission into the ISRO programs. And you can find out more details about this in their website. And it's not only a UG program, you have master's program and PhD PDF under this offered by this institute. Now, having told about different ISRO centers, next half an hour I would like to take you through space technology applications. How the space technology is being used in different domains with few examples. If you remember, I was telling initially about some programs like airborne remote sensing as well as educational program that was a driving factor for Indian space program. That's what I'm trying to tell here. In 1975-76, using satellite from US, there was a program carried out by Professor Yashpal Sharma called SITE. where the rural villages were connected through satellite and provided education. Around 2005, it is an experimental program that was conducted for 2,400 remote villages, and that was a great success. Then there was another program using satellite from French and Germany. That's called STEP, that was carried out during 1977-79, through which the disaster warning was provided. You see the photograph here in the middle of the slide, the kind of antenna in those days. And these two programs led to formulation of INSAT program, that is called Indian Satellites Program, under which most of the communication satellites and weather forecasting satellites, search and rescue satellites are being developed and launched. Another domain of ISRO space program is Earth observation. The two deriving factors is the airborne survey that was carried out by Indian scientists. One is in 1971, a sensor was flown on board aircraft that identified coconut root wilt disease in Kerala, because many coconut plantations were getting affected, particularly. So this led to monitoring a large area of coconut plantations in the country, in the state of Kerala, which are affected for this kind of diseases. And we also had a lot of balloon-based cameras to understand Earth natural resources, Earth surface from high altitude. These two programs led to formulation of Indian remote sensing program. Okay. The communication satellites have wide range of applications. I have listed some of them here. It is mainly used for telecommunication, especially what we do use day in and day out: mobile communication, mobile telephony, then television broadcasting, satellite-based news gathering. These are communication related applications. And these communication satellites also have the imaging systems on board. They are used for weather forecasting, disaster warning, search and rescue operations. The weather forecasting is one where you see the pictures on a daily basis. Every half an hour you get a picture of entire Indian hemisphere about the cloud movement, the cyclone movement, based on which different models are built and disaster warning is provided. And most of these communication satellites have got the transponders exclusively meant for search and rescue operation. Search and rescue operation is carried out whenever sea vessels lost their communication. They will have sounding beacons which emit signals. That signal, the distress signal, is tracked by communication satellites, and their precise location continuously is sent to the land, which will help the search and rescue team to approach the vessel and provide necessary support. So that is one of the significant thing. And there is a global network of search and rescue where ISRO is part of that, providing the necessary infrastructure in the space through the communication platform. The third set of communication application, satellite application, is tele-education, telemedicine, and village resource center. I'll be showing more details in subsequent slides on these three. So, as I was telling, the weather forecasting is providing continuous monitoring of atmospheric status in the country, and tele-education from single source. You try to reach multiple locations across the country. As I was telling when I was explaining about the Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, which is one of the pioneer organization in the country providing tele-education. The standard subjects are taught through broadcast mode, so anybody can log in and view and attend the education program. The next major one is telemedicine. Especially it is useful for rural population in the country where you don't have super specialty doctors and hospitals. Through satellite communication, a local doctor at a rural village can interact with a specialist doctor in an urban environment through communication platform and make consultation and provide necessary treatment for the poor people in the rural population. Another important program that was carried out by ISRO was Village Resource Center, where essentially the communication technology was used to reach more people. Under this program, many rural population were provided with technical support, technical training, especially in job-oriented training from major centers and colleges located in the cities. So This was one of the successful program under Village Resource Center. The satellite communication technology was widely used. The last one is search and rescue operations, which I was mentioning that through beacons, the location of the vehicles, sea vessels are located. Apart from communication, one of the major area applications of space technology is satellite navigation. All of us are aware about GPS, global positioning system. We use day in day out in our mobile for locating yourself or traversing for route navigation. Okay, and I don't know how many of you are aware how it works. The GPS depends on more than 30 satellites launched by US. Okay, so strategically, any country can deny this signal. Initially, when I say initially in 90s and earlier, uh, the signals were not available for civilian users, only available for military purpose, that too for US military. Subsequently, it relaxed and that is available now freely for any civilian users. That's how we are using GPS in our mobile. But just think of a scenario where the country stops providing signal, then we will be lost. We will not be able to know our location. That's the reason ISRO came up with its own Indian region navigation satellite system that is named as NAVIC, and it provides two type of services: positioning services. One is standard positioning service, that's for civilian use, and restricted service for strategic operation. Currently, 8 satellites are there under this program. Another program for satellite navigation based on satellite navigation is called GAGAN, GPS aided geo augmented navigation. It is essentially satellite based augmentation system, SBAS system. And under NAVIC program, as I was telling, we have 8 satellites located at 2 type of orbits: geosynchronous orbit and geostationary orbits. The basic principle is the precise location of the satellites are known, and the receiver on the Earth, he can track get a signal from these satellites and estimate his own position more precisely through triangulation and geometric calculation. So that's how navigation system works. The other program which I was mentioning is the GAGAN, GPS aided geo augmented navigation. This is also again position based application. This is exclusively used for aircraft landing and takeoff, which needs very precise location information. General GPS location has error of around 10 meters, but through this system, they get very precise accuracy in terms of centimeter accuracy that is required for aircraft landing and takeoff. And this works on the principle of having control centers at different parts of the country whose precise location is known, and the information is continuously transmitted to space-based communication platform, and which in turn transmits the signal at the precise location to the aircraft. Similarly, from aircraft, the information goes to the satellite and reaches the ground control centers, which process the data and provide a precise location for the aircraft, for each aircraft. This is a total automated system which is available currently. It is joint work carried out by ISRO and Airport Authority of India. And most of you are aware, ISRO launches a lot of interplanetary exploration. Astrosat is one to study the X-ray, optical, and UV spectral bands of the space. Then Mars Orbiter mission is the first interplanetary mission. It had the sensing image which took the photograph of the Mars surface. And Chandrayaan-1 first mission to moon had many cameras. One of the camera was helpful in understanding the H2O molecules on moon surface, and another camera called TMC, a terrain mapping camera, which provided the stereo images of moon surface. That has given a lot of data to the scientific community, not only in India, across the world. The latest mission was Chandrayaan-2. As most of you are aware, it had 2 modules. One is orbiter craft module, another is lander craft module. The orbiter craft module has a satellite that is going around the moon even now. It's doing well. It has some remote sensing cameras on board. And the lander craft module was supposed to land on the surface of moon and roll out the rover system, which unfortunately failed. And ISRO is working on Chandrayaan 3 mission by taking into account the lessons learned in Chandrayaan 2 mission. It is trying to make Chandrayaan 3 successful. Next comes the Earth observation data applications. That's very important area where most of the space technology being used in the country for societal development. It is categorized under 4 major areas. For socio-economic security, like food security, water security, energy security, health security, providing shelters, development of infrastructure, providing information. For all this purpose, remote sensing that satellite data is being widely used. And the technology, not only remote sensing technology, communication technology, web technology, mobile technology, GPS technology, all geospatial technologies are being used for e-governance purpose. I think somebody's mic is on. Okay. So the governance is one of the major area where the space technology being used for planning purpose, monitoring of government programs, evaluation of government programs, providing decision support systems, and remote sensing satellites are also being used for sustainable development to understand the climate, total environment, how it is changing, how it is affecting both urban and rural environment, or the forest environment. So for all such studies, we use a lot of Earth observation satellite data. The fourth dimension is disaster risk reduction, where the information from Earth observation data is used for disaster preparedness, providing disaster early warning, and providing information during disaster response phase to know where the area is affected due to disaster, and also provide information at the disaster recovery phase. I will be giving some examples for each of these applications. The primary objective of Earth observation data application is to carry out natural resources census. Like we have the population census happening once in 10 years. Using remote sensing data, NRSC also carry out natural resources census. Under this, we prepare information about land use, land cover, how each and every part of India is being put to use, and what is it covered with, like whether it is agricultural crop or forest or barren land, wasteland, what kind of. So this gives how these natural resources changing over time. Some of the programs are generating information at every year. Some sensors are used for generating information every 5 years. Very high resolution informations are being used to generate once in 10 years. This information is used for various purposes like weather forecasting, hydrologic modeling, to understand the net zone area in the country, for decentralized planning at village and panchayat level. And this information is also used for various global models by global community. This the land use and information. And NRC also has generated wasteland information for the country. If you see this photograph on the right side of this slide, lot of wasteland identified using satellite data is being used for developing and putting them into different uses. So one such is what seen here. A wasteland in 2008-9 is converted into a solar farm in 2015-16. So satellite data is used for identifying the wasteland and also is used for monitoring how these wastelands are put in for different uses. Another major application providing technology for rural development applications. Government of India spends a lot of money in development of watersheds, like creating new water resources or developing land resources at village level. And NRC under ISRO provides various technology support for the government agencies, both at central and state level. I'll be explaining in subsequent slots about the Bhuvan Geo platform. That is one major technology platform, web-based technology platform is used for monitoring various programs of rural development, and the kind of work that is carried out across the country under MNREGA, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. A lot of assets are created, a lot of work is being given to the village population. And ISRO has provided a platform where the entire activity under this Manrega is being monitored, mapped, and evaluated. Okay. So otherwise, it was very difficult to collect this kind of information. We have given a platform through web and mobile, through which the kind of information that is generated is being collected and provided to the decision makers. Another major area where ISRO works is in providing information for agriculture area. Some of the applications I have listed here, it is not the only application that we do. We do a lot of applications. Just to give some idea about what kind of work we do. Like one area is crop intensification. The government department, state and central government departments may not be aware which are the areas where only one crop is grown and there is scope for growing another crop in the second season within a year. So we use satellite images and tell the concerned people, including farmers, that this is the area where you have grown one crop in first season and you have residual moisture, and we can grow some crops which need very less water in subsequent season, and your productivity of the land will improve. So this is the kind of information that we give across the country. That is the advantage of the remote sensing application. The satellite image, what you get from remote sensing satellites, you get the same information, same area is visited once in 5 days or once in 24 days or daily basis. And of late, due to erratic behavior of monsoon, a lot of loss happens to the farmers in terms of crop failures. Here also, the technology being used by the concerned authorities in the country. The Odisha state is taking a lead in this, where we provide remote sensing satellite data support for estimating the precise yield of crops, based on which the crop insurance is implemented. Like if any loss is there, to quantify what is the amount of loss, is the claim is being settled through satellite-based information. Water is one of the critical resources in the country where the remote sensing is being extensively used, and a lot of infrastructure is created in the water domain by constructing canals, and the government of India spends a lot of money in constructing these canals to carry water from reservoirs to the fields, which is used for agriculture purpose. And very high resolution satellite images have been used for most of the projects in the country, more than 100 projects in the country which are under construction by NRC. And we also trained the concerned department in the state for utilizing this information to understand how the progress of construction is happening. Thereby, the monitoring of the infrastructure development has happened in more scientific way, and it helped in understanding what are the issues at the field level for implementing such massive program. And the satellite-based inputs are also used by us for assessing the total water orbit in the country. The recent survey carried out by NRSC somewhere in 2018-19 period has given the more better estimate of water availability in the country for different basins. And the remote sensing advantage is that you can access the information beyond your boundary, Indian boundary. So this is, snow and glacier is one such example where the remote sensing technology has been used. What you see is the entire Himalayan region, the snow cover information is being assessed, monitored by NRSC, and glacial lake information is also being monitored by NRSC. One of the recent example of disaster happening in this part of country is the event that happened in Uttarakhand, where a sudden avalanche resulted in loss of infrastructure and life. And this where these areas are highly inaccessible. That's where the remote sensing technology comes for your rescue. Forest is another domain where the resources available at different type of forests available is being monitored using satellite images. And more critical among that information is the forest fire locations that is being monitored during summer. The information is given within few hours to the concerned people at the ground through different modes, through web, through SMS, so that they can address at field level, at the forest level, to control the spread of forest fires. and the loss due to forest fire is very huge every year. That has impact on the environment, ecology, as well as on the economy. So this is one of the critical information that is being provided from satellite data in near real time mode. Another major user of satellite remote sensing application is urban and infrastructure. As you are all aware, Government of India has a massive program called Amrut, under which the information about all urban infrastructure being created. This information is used for planning purpose, generation of master plan for future planning, and high resolution satellite images widely used for this purpose for Indian satellite as well as foreign satellites. Another major user is to know the urban growth pattern. The animation that you see right side of this slide that shows over different time periods, over say 10 years to 20 years or 30 years, in which direction the urban goes, the rate at which the urban goes. That gives a lot of information in terms of the resources required for the urban environment, or the pressure that it puts on a resource, natural resources, in which part of the city it is growing. These are very critical information for urban planners to have better resource management for this urban population. Geosciences is another area where remote sensing data is widely used. See, you must be wondering, I am telling so many about natural resources. That is where the most of the remote sensing or satellite space technology applications are being used in the country. And geosciences is the one major area where entire country, the availability of groundwater, how much groundwater is available, has been mapped using satellite data. So most of the state governments, they go for drilling of bore wells using this information, and most of them they are successful. More than 80% of their locations were successful based on these maps. And the remote sensing data also is being used for identifying minerals, different type of minerals like diamond, gold, manganese, phosphate, iron. Some set of satellite data provides precise information about the abundance availability of particular mineral resources in the country. And the next major area where the remote sensing data being widely used is disaster management support. All natural disasters like flood, cyclone, forest fire, landslide, earthquake, in all these areas, the information from satellite remote sensing is being widely used. National Remote Sensing Center provides the information about flood, inundation that happens anywhere in the country using all the resources, satellite resources available from India or across the globe. We have international charter cooperation. We get the best possible satellite available and provide the information for relief and rescue operation. Like in case of flood and cyclone, which are the areas that is inundated, so that the rescue operations can be carried out. And not only the information about real time, we also provide forecast information, like in Godavari and Tapi rivers. NRC is providing the expected flood in different stretches of the river through hydrologic modeling. Most of the modeling inputs are from remote sensing platform. And NRC also provides hazard atlas for different states, which are the areas that is prone to flood, how frequently a certain area in a state is prone to flood. All those information are made available for better disaster preparedness. So the state government can take very well-informed action prior to the monsoon season, so that the loss of life is minimized. I don't know. See, most of you are young. Before you were born, the loss of life due to flood, cyclone were very huge in the country. Of late, hardly any life is lost because the use of the technologies, whether weather forecasting and disaster forewarning, are providing support during disaster management phases. Another area which I was telling earlier also about forest is forest fire alert, and this has saved a lot of time and effort for the forest officials, and it is being widely used on every summer season across the country. You see the image that is available here that tells the number of event fire alerts that has been given in the year 2019. Another major area of applications providing landslide information, especially in hilly terrains of Western Ghats, Northeastern or Himalayan regions, where the landslide occurs due to monsoon, during monsoon, due to unstable slopes, the satellite-based information on Earth surface as well as Earth three-dimensional information, terrain information, and soil information is being used to provide the landslide hazard information for the country. I think I have pumped you enough information about remote sensing applications. I would like to end my presentation with introducing you with Bhuvan Geo platform. This is one of the latest technology support provided by ISRO to the country, and it has it is a web-based platform. It has got a lot of information from remote sensing satellites and various other sources. Not only basic data that comes from remote sensing satellite, various derived information generated by National Remote Sensing Center and different centers across ISRO are made available for public use under Bhuvan Geo platform. You see, currently we have 60 TB of terabytes of satellite data, exclusive satellite data, and they are available for free download. People can make use of this information for various applications, which I have listed in the previous slide. And we have provided G-governance application portals for different departments in the country, like monitoring their programs, evaluating their programs, assessing their programs. For all these purposes, around 187 applications have been developed. A lot of mobile applications have been developed for collecting information by department officials from state and central governments, and also through crowdsourcing. Like we have a Bhuvan mobile app that has collected more than 100 million point of interest information, and that information is available in Bhuvan platform. Okay, and the address is given. I request you people to go through and explore it. And the domain for applications in Bhuvan Geo platform varies from agriculture, water, forestry, governance, tourism, urban and rural. You have all those more than 180 applications are categorized into different thematic areas. And this Bhuvan Geo platform also provides a lot of open geospatial consortium services, OGC services, map services that any individual can consume in their application. If you are developing an application, you can make use of the thematic services from Bhuvan Geo platform, ocean services, discernment services. You can create your own GIS map for your area of interest, your locality, your college. And the application that was developed using Bhuvan platform is used by various central ministries, and we have some special applications. Then we have G-governance applications. And for each state also, state-specific applications are available in Bhuvan Geo platform. I just would like to show you the campus of NIT Warangal. What you see the color image is 2018 satellite image, and what you see in a black and white image is very old image, sometime in 1979. This is the type of information that is available for the entire country. I'm just telling, I'm giving an example about only satellite data. It is not only satellite data, you have a lot of thematic information in the Geo platform. And we can talk about Bhuvan Geo platform itself for more than a day. So much information available. So a lot of applications have been developed. I request you people to go through this in subsequent opportunities. Now, I would like to take you through a few slides which you people are eagerly awaiting to know how to get into ISRO. You know, it is a dream. You know, I never dreamed that I'll be working at ISRO. It is an accident. And after joining, I never repented. Really, it's a great environment to work at ISRO. Okay. In my earlier part of my career, my seniors used to tell about ISRO. It is a government body with a corporate soul. It is not like a typical government organization. It works like a private company. Okay. There is no time. We work 24/7, Saturday, Sundays, Diwali or Ugadi. And for your information, we have a holiday on 13th and 14th, but we have a review for whole day for both the days. Some of us can work from home for those 2 days. So that's how ISRO works. So the kind of challenges that ISRO gives is enormous. And the research that happens in ISRO, we have basic science and applied science. And most of the research that we do at National Remote Sensing is applied science. What I mean applied science is, it has some end use for societal development. So these are the opportunities available And there are different ways the recruitment happens. The first major recruitment happens is through ISRO Centralized Recruitment Board, which conducts every year a written test, and those who are qualified are called for interviews and selection is done. Second mode is absorption of graduates from Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology located in Trivandrum. The third way is direct recruitment by the respective ISRO centers. In fact, my recruitment happened through direct recruitment of National Remote Sensing Center. Many, all the centers, you can say, most of the centers, they also carry out direct recruitment for specialized job, mostly for the MTech and PhD specialization. The recruitment happens directly with the respective centers. And that recruitment happened through newspaper advertisement, shortlisting based on the performance, academic performance, then interview and selection happens. But of late, the demand for recruitment has increased manifold. So most of the centers are conducting preliminary written tests to screen out the students, and then they go through interview process and get selected. The last one is we have a ISRO portal has live register for PhD and PG candidates, and they can register in that live register. As and when some opportunity comes, they will be approached by respective ISRO centers. Under ISRO Centralized Recruitment Board, where the annual written test and in subsequent interview happens, these are the major areas of engineering specialization where the recruitment happens. Electronics, mechanical, computer science, architecture, civil, electrical, refrigeration, and air conditioning. And this specialization I've taken from last 2-3 years recruitment from ICRB page of ISRO. And if there is a need for any other application, naturally ICRB will conduct a written test and subsequent interview for those specializations also. Just to give an idea for the perks that is going to available, generally a person with the BE, BTech or MSc qualification joins as scientist engineer SC. The current basic of this post is basic payment is 56,000. Then you will have DNS allowance, all other allowances provided by Government of India. And the upper age limit for this post is 35 years. And the eligibility criteria is based on minimum marks in basic degree as well as PG degree. And they are eligible for, if it is under ICRB, they are eligible for written test, and based on the qualification marks, they are called for interview, and based on the performance interview, they are selected. And a person who joins as scientist engineer SC, he can progress through the through his career and go up to a position called distinguished scientist. The basic payment for this post is 2,05,400. That is level 16. And the beauty in ISRO is the promotion is through merit promotion scheme. Once in 4 years or 5 years, the employee is called for an interview. His performance assessed for the period for which the interviews happen by internal member experts as well as external experts, and promotions get provided based on the performance in the interview. And mostly people get through this promotion. Those who join as scientist C, they reach the distinguished scientist level maybe by 30 years of their service or 30 years of service. That is how things are happening. And I just given an example of how one post, there are different opportunities available in ISRO, not only in scientific and technical area, in administrative area also. ISRO Common Recruitment Board conducts a lot of written selection. I have given the URL of this page in this slide. You can go through for more details in ISRO's website. With this, I end my talk. I think I have overshot by 5 minutes with the interest to tell you more, but still I'm not sure whether I have fulfilled what you expected. You can always contact me through my email address for any kind of information related to ISRO, whether technical or administrative or career related. I am always there to help you and guide you. Thank you for your kind attention. Over to you, Mr. Pujit.
Yes, sir. Can we take a few questions if the students have?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, guys, if someone has any question, please raise your hand and please unmute and you're free to ask. Varun?
There is
Yeah,
there is
Varun.
there is a question from chat window. Do
Yes.
ISRO recruit from IIT and NIT? One of the press release issued by ISRO last year had mentioned about campus recruitment, but I don't have authentic information from ISRO website. I encouraged some of my colleagues at headquarters, but it has happened earlier cases, but I don't know whether it is happening on regular basis. Maybe I can get back to you any specific information if you need. Otherwise, currently it is not happening at the campus recruitment, but earlier it has happened for IITs and the NITs.
Good evening, sir. I would like to ask a question.
Yeah, please.
Yes, so what is the status of the research in the field of astrophysics and astronomy? Like, for example, deep space exploration. Like, are we doing anything other than the main Mars and the Moon things, which
Yeah.
reach the news usually?
Yeah, you can. A physical research laboratory located in Ahmedabad is the organization that is carrying out all this research. You can go through their website. And it is not only Mars and Moon that they do research. They also do celestial bodies like any other planetary missions. The information available from various other spacecrafts provided by rest of the countries. And if you remember, if you recollect, I have mentioned a lot of domains are there where the space physics research is happening by PRL, Physical Research Laboratory. Maybe you can go through the website. And they also have a PhD program where people can register for PhD and get the PhD through PRL. There is another question from chat window. After doing MS in computer science, can we do our PhD from ISRO? I cannot provide the answer offhand. You can visit Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology. I hope it must be there. But the area specialization, you need to go through the website iist.gov.in. They'll give more information. And to my understanding, it must be possible that you can do PhD after MS in computer science. Next question is, how can chemical engineers get into ISRO? Chemical engineers also have a lot of opportunity in ISRO, like any other engineering. Some of the centers where the requirement will be in ISRO Propulsion Complex in Mahendragiri, Liquid Propulsion System Center, and SDSC SHAR, Sriharikota. These are the three major centers where they handle a lot of chemical engineering related applications. You can go through the website and find out whenever there is a recruitment vacancy in chemical engineering, you can apply for that. What is the opportunities for internship for second, third year student BTech? ISRO provides internship for BTech, MTech, PhD in all the centers across ISRO. Each center has a division called Program Planning and Evaluation Group, PPEG. You can visit their website, each center, depending on the specialization that you are looking for. You can write to them, and they give internship primarily to the children of ISRO employees and their team of students for BTech. Whereas for MTech project work, across all ISRO centers, you can carry out your research work for MTech as well as part of PhD in any ISRO center. We have exclusive program for helping the students community for their internship. And currently, due to pandemic, most of the centers are not taking. And the current year, we are giving opportunity for students to work from their home in company with scientists at ISRO centers. Next question is, how is scope of electrical and electronics engineering in the post of scientist after BTech? So if you see one of the specialization ICRB recruits is electronics. Every year you have a lot of post vacancies available. So I think recently also ICRB exams were conducted. Maybe you can look for the opportunity for every year the ICRB conducts exam for this specialization. You can apply through that. Now currently I think under ICRB interviews are going on. Written test results have come out. Where do you think we lack in apart from funding to match the scientific exploration of NASA? Yeah, very good question. See, India is a typical country, even Western countries look for in terms of space technology applications. we are not really lacking. Our priorities are different. Most of the research that we do for societal applications, and the kind of resources that we have in terms of manpower and other resources is very limited, and we do a lot compared to other space organizations. So it is something like comparing Bowen platform with Google. So Google is something and Bowen is something. We have our own strength. Similarly, the research that we do, even the Western countries have appreciated the kind of space technical application that India does. They look at us the way we do research applications. So there is no comparison. Their priority is different. Their resources are different. With limited resources, what India does is definitely far better than any other country in the world. There is another question, sir. Can you repeat the answer of internship, please? Internship, I would like to tell again. The 1 month kind of short internship generally provided at BTech level for children of employees mostly, and most of the BTech project works are also permitted at ISRO centers. However, for the MTech project work and any other PhD related work, any student can apply in any other ISRO center. Okay, so I repeat, each ISRO center has one division called Program Planning and Evaluation Group, PPEG. You can go through their website. Each center website has information about student internship through which you can apply, and you will get into ISRO for carrying out your internship. What are the opportunities are there for MSc Physics students in ISRO? A lot of opportunities are there. See, I could not list all the specifications, but you find most of the specification opportunities. For example, for MSc Physics, you have opportunities at National Remote Sensing Center, where the scientists do research on atmospheric physics, and we have one space physics laboratory at VSSC, Vikram Sarabhai Space Center in Trivandrum, Space Physics Laboratory, where most of scientists are having physics background. They do all atmospheric physics related thing. The atmospheric physics is a very important component of launch vehicle navigation, because that's those people only give a lot of information about the atmospheric condition and forecast of atmospheric condition during launch time. So that is one of the important aspect in ISRO's program, space program. So MSc Physics students also get into ISRO. There are a lot of opportunities.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to know if what type of job will be there for a student who did like BTech plus MS in astrophysics and integrated course from IIST if he is absorbed into ISRO.
You mean to say nature of job?
Yes, sir. Type
Yeah.
of job and what kind of work will be there, and yeah, the nature of job.
Yeah. See, those who generally people join from IIST after BTech directly into ISRO based on their performance in the academic region. And most of the youngsters, those who join, they are put into basic research applications in each respective ISRO centers. The place from where I am coming, National Remote Sensing Center, we have almost 5 students joining NRSC every year. Most of them are involved in basic researches with the guidance from the senior. But in some centers, few of them will be put under various domains of the space program, like quality control and quality assessment. In fact, in most of the ISRO centers, system reliability and quality assurance is the main important focus area. It's not that generally people think that quality has very less importance, but in ISRO's space program, quality is having very high importance, because ISRO is maintaining that kind of system reliability and quality assurance. Most of the launches are successful. If you have a lag in quality assurance, quality control, and you will end up with a lot of failures. So the kind of jobs mostly the youngsters are given is in basic research. They try to explore new areas, and in fact, those who join after I think 4 or 5 years, they are encouraged to go for higher studies from ISRO, either for masters or PhD. Even recently this year, 3-4 colleagues who joined from IIST, they are trying to get into IITs for doing their PhD works. So the nature of job is initially it will be research, nothing else. Okay.
Thank you so much.
What are the opportunities for BS data science students? I'm not sure specifically BSc data science. If the syllabus or the kind of coursework that you do, if it can be shared, I can come back to you whether we have opportunities for that area. Offhand, I am not able to comment anything on that. Next question is ISRO looking on space station for India? Not an immediate feature. Maybe once we are successful in human flight mission, maybe subsequently we'll be planning. And one of the student has asked for my email address. In fact, that was shown in the last slide. I can type in the chat window. You can note down abdulhakim_k@nrsc.gov.in. abdulhakim_k@nrsc.gov.in. Hope it is visible for your chat window. Another message in the chat window. I don't know if it is a valid question to ask. What are the prospects of biotechnology graduate in ISRO? Nothing wrong in asking any type of question. And okay, these are the tricky question for me. Biotechnology, I need to come back. Sai Ramakrishna, maybe you can drop me a mail. I'll get back to you next week after we go back to office. Another question is, when will ISRO develop self-landing rockets like SpaceX? Maybe once people like Karthik Gowda joins ISRO, we hope you are the future of ISRO, and we expect you to do this job. Correct? And it's not that far. Definitely, I have confidence that you and we can do together. Yeah. Pujit, no more questions in chat window. If any other questions.
Yes, sir. If you are done with the questions, guys, let's wind up the session. And first of all, sir, on behalf of Astronomy Club NIT Warangal and the entire management team here, a very hearty gratitude to the speaker, Mr. Abdul Hakim, for sharing this honorable occasion with us, sir. And it has been a tribute to host this meeting today with this auspicious occasion. And like today, nearly every student or every student from the college or school dreams of becoming a space scientist, and not all of them may go to carry this dream, sir, but surely they'll carry the inspiration you have given them to go. This was really inspirative session, sir, and where we hope that everyone makes their dream successful and got a good amount of inspiration from you. And also we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing this incredible service to the nation, not just in the field of space science but in the field of education too, by igniting the fire of curiosity and the courage to dream big and the passion to persist in the face of any and every obstacle in our students. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, Pujit. All the best to all of you. Wish you all to wish that you all join ISRO at the earliest. All the best. Thank you for the opportunity. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.